What's up, everybody? This is Chris Nichols, and you're listening to an episode of the Nichols&Dimez Show featuring Kyle Lasota. Enjoy. Kyle, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. It's good to meet you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me out here in Austin.
Absolutely. Happy to have you.
Yeah, it's an awesome spot you guys have here. But man, let me just give everyone a quick intro on who you are, and then we'll get into everything you're working on. I'm excited to learn more about it.
Sure.
But yeah, guys, so I'm here today with Kyle Lasota, who is a sleep expert and biohacking YouTuber. He creates health and wellness content online to help people optimize their energy, focus, and performance, covering topics like sleep, red light therapy, the Oura Ring, and a bunch of other things like that. Kyle is originally from Marin, California, and is currently based in Austin, Texas. So, man, we got connected with Eli, who you live with, right? Mm-hmm. And I got connected with him through Matt Hirsch, who was on the show. Mm-hmm. So that's been one thing that I've loved about doing this podcast is how this network effect has taken part, right? And you know, I think you know all of what that's all about, right? Just given the setup you have here, you live with other entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. and I feel like you guys feed off of each other and all that energy, and you probably learn a ton from each other as well. So I just think that's so cool. But really, man, I'm excited to learn, and thank you again for having me at your home.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think just a good place for all of us to understand better who you are and what made you entrepreneurial is what was life like growing up for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in Marin, like you said, mm-hmm. and it's a really nice place, and it's just north of San Francisco, so startup culture is right there too. And when I was growing up in high school, I was always looking for the hustle. You know, I was always like, since like fourth grade, I had like a bake sale with like my friend outside of Blockbuster. Yeah. And we made a couple $100, like just selling muffins, like to the people going in and out of Blockbuster because there's a lot of foot traffic there.
Yeah. Dude, it's amazing how many stories start just like that.
Yeah. And then like as I got older, you know, in high school, I saw that a lot of people started selling like weed. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But there was a lot of competition there. So everyone wanted to be cool, right? Right. So what was cool back then? Well, smoking blunts was cool. Yeah. So everyone was selling weed, but no one was selling blunts. Yeah. So I went to my brother, who was a little bit older than me, and I used his ID to buy blunt wraps in bulk, like Costco style. Nice. And then I would sell the blunt wraps to all the kids at school who were the stoners. And so it's kind of like the whole, like, so what is it, like giving the picks to the gold miners, you know? Yeah. It was like, that's kind of the model I took. And then eventually I graduated from the Swishers, and I saw this one kid who was throwing parties, and he was making a lot of money. And I looked at his parties, and I looked at him, I'm like, dude, I could do this way better. Yeah. So I did. And, you know, I hired a DJ, I rented a venue, I got an insurance policy, and then I recruited a couple of my friends who were really popular to be promoters for other schools. So I had this one guy named Kendrick, actually, who was friends with everyone from every different school. Yeah. I said, hey, you can get him for free if you just promote. And he did. And I promoted. I was pretty popular in high school too. And I mean, I packed a house. I made it so there was a line out the door, and anytime someone left, someone new would come in because we reached capacity. Wow! And I came home that night, and I made $3,000 cash as like a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and I was like, whoa, this is wild, crazy. Yeah. And one night, you know, so I learned a lot. I actually made most of the money from selling water. Okay, just like kind of like the guys on the street outside of the concert venues. Yeah. So I went to Costco. I bought bulk water. Yeah. I told everyone to pregame really hard before the party, and they did because there's no alcohol inside, right? Everyone's 16, everyone's 15, but I know everyone's going to get hammered. So it's just like go hard before you come in. There will be no alcohol inside, no drugs inside, of course. Yeah. And so, you know, it got hot, you know, everyone's dancing, so they needed water. And I marked up the price. It was like 20 cents a bottle at the price that I bought it, and I marked it up to $2 or $3 a bottle, and I made most of my profit right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, amazing. You really did get an early start.
Yeah, I did. I did, yeah. So I think those were the seedlings that led to what became my career. And if I look back on that, fondly, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I think I was always had a knack for seeing opportunity and just wanted to figure out unique ways to make money, because I didn't just going to a job. Like I just never bought into that whole concept. It just didn't work for me. It just felt like, oh, that's why it's, what's the word? It's ineffective.
Yeah.
Like as a way to make money, that seems ineffective.
Right.
So how do we do something different? And so I think that, and I think I also just naturally have a contrarian approach to life. And so I think anything that is the status quo, I just kind of go against organically. Nice. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's certainly a common trend as well for anyone who has an entrepreneur mindset, and certainly among the people I've had on the show. What about after high school? Where'd you go to college, or what'd you study?
I went to CU Boulder, and I studied film and entrepreneurship.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, there.
So I was pretty clear that I didn't want to work an office job, and because my dad did that, and I looked at his lifestyle, and I was like, that's not what I want. And then I just was making videos in high school, and I remember that hours would pass by as I was editing, and it was like time didn't exist, and I got lots of praise as a kid for making good videos. And, and so I think I built up an identity, and there's that validation factor of like, oh, like this is something I enjoy. Yeah. It's different than doing the office thing. And I'm good at it. Yeah. And people like it. So let's see where this goes. And I didn't start off with the entrepreneurship thing in college because I didn't know what that was. Oh, okay. And then I signed up for a class or found out about the class or something, and I tried it. And I remember the first day leaving that class, I'm like, oh, this is what I was meant to do. Yeah. Yeah. Because I had never heard that word before, entrepreneurship. Oh, wow. I was just finding ways to make money. And then when I was in this class, you were getting graded on basically starting a business. Like the whole entire final was to start a business. Wow. And get it off the ground. Oh, wow. For real. Yeah. So it was the whole class for the entire semester is based on, can you start a business? Wow. And I got really good grades in that in those classes, in the entrepreneurship classes. Yeah. I loved going to those classes. Yeah. I did all the homework. I did all the assignments. And then that got me into the ecosystem of the startup world. And I really thought I was going to go that route. And what I realized, two things happened. Or three things happened. Number one, I got into network marketing, and I actually did really okay with it. I recruited about 1,000 people, and I think that's when I learned I have a skill of communication and leadership and persuasion and influence and all this stuff. And so it sort of got refined in that 8 months when I was doing the network marketing, but it was just a bad business model, and I put in so much work for not that much payoff. Yeah. And for how many people I sold and recruited, it's just it didn't match up. So I just got burnt out, and I was not having any fun, and I was in college. I'm like, I'm going to go have some fun. Yeah. So that happened. And then number two happened as I was getting into the startup world. I realized that I knew nothing about numbers. I almost failed out of math in high school, and I was like, this is going to be a problem if I go into business and I don't know numbers. Right. So I just had that self-awareness, so I talked myself into an investment banking job. Oh, wow. And I got the job without a degree, and then so I just dropped out of college, and I was like, okay, let's do this. What? I was in that whole Wolf of Wall Street thing. And, what specifically kind of job? I was doing debt and equity financing for publicly traded microcap companies. Wow. And my goal was to be a broker, an investment banker. Yeah. And I started off as an analyst and doing lead generation and stuff like that. And wow. So that was a little stint for 6 months, and it was absolutely horrible, and I hated it. So okay. Wow. I've got a lot of questions. You gave me a few things there, but since we're on this topic, how the hell did you get that job without having a degree? So my buddy from back home, his name is Billy, and we went to school in Boulder together. Yeah. And I remember always going to Billy's house when I was a kid, and he had the biggest house. And he had a really nice car, and his dad had a really nice car, and they just had this incredible house. And I remember on one break, I think I went home and I contacted his dad, and I was just like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, why don't you come down to the office and I'll show you.
Oh,
and
wow.
So he brought me into the office and he took some calls in front of me and he kind of explained. He's like, you know, people, they need to raise money for their companies.
Yeah.
And there are investors who are looking to put money into these companies. And we just help bring those two people together and make the deal happen. And we get paid a transaction fee for making that and pushing that forward.
Pretty nice way to simplify it.
Yeah. And I was like, so you're just the middleman basically? And he's like, yeah, basically. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. And I think I was just asking the right questions, and he saw the potential in me. Yeah. And the hunger that he's like, hey, as I was leaving that day, I was walking out the office and he goes, hey, if you ever, want a job or something like that, just, for the summer, like, let me know, next summer. Wow. And so that planted. And then, when I left the network marketing thing and I was tired of partying at school, I was just like, okay, I need a vehicle where I can sell. Yeah. Because if I can sell something that has a high commission, then I'll do really well financially. Right. And in the back of my head, I'm like, investment banking is finance and accounting, as a lot of it, there's a lot of selling, there's a lot of deal making, but a lot of it is understanding the balance sheet of the company, the equity structure, the debt, and figuring out what's the right model that's going to get them to where they're trying to go in a way where everyone can make money. And I knew nothing about accounting. It was basically gibberish to me. Yeah. And so I also knew that if I did something like this, it would be like getting an MBA, like a real life MBA in accounting and finance, where it's actually applicable. It's not just theoretical. So it was kind of my hedge for myself, because I thought I was going to go the startup route and raise money. Sure. And so the thought process was, if I understand what a good investment looks like, what a good deal looks like, then I won't get raked over the coals when I go to raise money for my company. Wow. So little Kyle had a lot of foresight into being strategic and thinking about what's going to be best in the future. Yeah. Yeah. That's super helpful, because that ties a lot of this together. Yeah. Because you went into this job really as a hedge, like you said, but with the intention of still being an entrepreneur. Yeah. At the end of the day. Yeah. It was paid skill acquisition. I see. Yeah. 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 It was never the long-term game. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So I want to go back a little bit, because you said something interesting about your dad being in the corporate world and how you didn't have interest. Why did that have such a, negative impact on your perspective of that career path? I think it's just it's very subtle, right? But I think it was when you're a little kid and your dad, luckily my dad, most of the time, in the later years, he was working from home. So I was actually very fortunate to have him around a lot. But before that, he was traveling nonstop. And then when he came home, he was always on calls. Always. Yeah. And I'd come into his office and I'd be like, Dad, I want to play, or I want to do this, or, and he'd just shoo me away. But I could tell he was just he was tired. You know, he was tired. He was overworked, and he was doing his best. And I mean, granted, he made a lot of money and he did well for himself, and he provided for our family and stuff like that. So no disrespect to that, but it just I could see it kind of felt like this quiet life of desperation that was so slowly sort of creeping in over time. And more like a life of mediocrity and mundanity. And that made me absolutely terrified. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's because I didn't learn this until later on. 2 years ago, I got diagnosed with ADHD and just 2 years ago. Yeah, I didn't know that I had it, and I got a brain scan, and they were like, oh yeah, by the way, you have this thing, right? And I'm not super into labels, like I shared with you before, so I don't identify with it really. But when I started reading about it, it made my brain make sense why I do the things the way that I do them. And the thing about people who have these tendencies, ADHD or ADD, is they're very, very passionate people. Yes. So their whole thing is that they have a really hard time focusing, and they often procrastinate on things that they don't care about or value. And when they find something that they love
Yep.
and they do care about and they do value, hyperfixation.
This is all very true.
So I didn't know it at the time, but I think internally I knew I had to do something that I was passionate about. Otherwise, I was going to be really in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So video was just like the thing that made sense as a trajectory when I was like entering into college. And then business and entrepreneurship was like, oh, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it was.
Right.
And it's just, I think that also has to do with maybe the ADD, ADHD thing. I think that's a common trend amongst entrepreneurs, that they have like dyslexia or ADHD or Asperger's or like, you know, some of these conditions that are like, it makes their brain just work differently, you know? So,
definitely.
So, that's kind of some interesting reflection there.
Yeah, well, I can certainly relate. I'm also I have ADHD as well, and
there you go.
Yeah, so this has been a lifelong thing for me. I've known it for a long time from all the doctors. So yeah, everything you said is on point, and that kind of different approach, that passion, having a hard time really getting into something that you just don't care about, even if you have to do it or you're supposed to do it. I certainly struggled in school in that sense. But yeah, man, there's something to be said for that. But I do appreciate how you say you don't associate with the identity, linking it to your identity or the label of it. You know, I think that just speaks to a bigger way of approaching life, which is this anti-victimhood or anti-victim mindset, right? And I'm a huge believer in that. You know, it still takes a lot of work.
Absolutely.
But yeah, but I was gonna, you know, so I want to talk about the film for a second. When did you start making videos? Was it as a kid? Yeah,
I started making videos as a kid, just home movies with my friends, and then in high school or middle school, I think my grandma gave me a camera, a DSLR camera when that was like new, so it was kind of a big deal. And then in my high school, they had a photo class, and I loved it. And I actually went all the way up to AP photo. Wow, so just photography. Yeah, just photography and Photoshop and stuff. Photoshop, all that stuff, Lightroom, and I absolutely loved it. And I even TA'd for the photo teacher, so I was in AP photo and I TA'd for them, and so like I just had a strong pull towards that and the creativity of it and stuff like that. And so I just felt like that was the right path. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah. And did you, so you took classes with it, but were you making projects on your own? I mean, I was doing photos on my own, but I wasn't making videos. I hadn't really made that like commitment yet because when I was in middle school, I think I made a home video and we had school laptops. Yeah. And one of the videos, they took in our school laptops one time, and one of the videos, my friend was making a freestyle rap. Yeah. And he was like dissing like the vice president's or vice principal's like wife or whatever, like some dumb shit. And so they suspended me and they deleted all my videos and stuff like that. Oh geez. My parents were really upset. Not about what I did, but that they deleted all my videos. Oh, I see. So I was just kind of put off by that, but I knew that I wanted to make films, and the reason why I knew that was because every time I would watch, I feel like the Red Bull videos and skate videos and stuff like that, I would get this sense of like awe and wonder, and oh my gosh, put my hairs on end. And I think that goosebumps are the soul's recognition of truth, and so I wanted to, I like that. I felt that I wanted to make people feel that in some way, shape, or form, and so that's why I chose the film degree. Okay, but I didn't start making videos till much later, much later. Not even until, because I did the investment banking thing, and then there was stuff in between that too. Sure. Yeah. But I do love how you use the Red Bull example, because I specifically remember Red Bull standing out to me as one of the coolest companies with their marketing that was out there, and probably has something to do with us being boys at that age and liking the action. But the cinematography sports, and the music and the stories, and it was just like, it was epic. It was like, I remember watching like the ski and snowboard videos. Those are the ones that really did it for me. Oh, for sure. Yeah, but that actually inspired me as well to be involved in that in some way. But man, so you did the entrepreneurship class, you started the marketing network thing, and then you got into the investment banking for a little bit, got out of that.
how did you get back into your entrepreneurship journey after banking?
So I started copywriting. So I started writing headlines, and I wrote headlines every day, and ended up writing headlines for Russell Brunson, who's the owner of ClickFunnels.
Oh, wow.
And a bunch of other media companies, and I got really good at it.
Yeah.
And I just did that for 3 years, basically writing headlines every single day.
Wow.
And I never missed a day. And then I burnt out and got really sick from mold, and
oh man.
And then I had a crisis of the soul, dark night of the soul, and I was just like, wow, like all this. And I started researching. This is when I first got into I'm trying to figure out how to hack my health and fix it. But I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know I had a mold infection. I didn't know anything about nutrition. I didn't know anything, and so nothing was working that I was doing. And I was working with some people to try to sort it out. And it just wasn't getting better. And I think the reason why it wasn't getting better, and this is what I choose to believe, is that I read this blog post from this guy named Paul Chek, who's like the holistic health like godfather. He like basically created holistic health, and he just said the reason why you're experiencing the symptoms you're experiencing is because you're not following your purpose. And I was like, okay,
wow,
that's interesting.
That's big.
Yeah, I had never thought about that. This is my first introduction into something that like the psycho-emotional, spiritual sort of aspect of health.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it resonated. And I just said, okay, well, I got to make a decision now. I feel like I'm dying. Like I really felt like I was dying in that moment. And
how old were you?
I was 22, 23. I was 23, I think. Yeah. So it's a pretty hard thing to deal with at that age. And I already had success. Like I was already making six figures, writing headlines, and and traveling the world. You know, I lived in all these different places, met incredible people, had some incredible stories. Yeah. But now I'm like really sick, and I'm just like, okay, well, worst case scenario is I basically continue to get sicker and then I die. Best case scenario is I follow my dream, I pick up a camera, I start making videos, and I travel the world, and everything gets better. So
did you know deep inside that the working with cameras and film was what you really wanted to do throughout that time period? Yeah.
And I just kept putting it off because I felt insecure with, like, you know, when I was in college and at film school, I realized all the film people were broke. And I was like, this is a red flag. Yeah. Because if I keep going here, if I keep like doing this path, I'm going to be broke. Yeah. And I was deathly afraid of being broke, you know, like, so I dropped out of college after the investment banking thing. And then after that didn't work out, the investment banking stuff, I was just like, okay, I need to make money. Headlines, it was like, there's a whole story there it's very long, but short of it is I just got introduced to an old friend. He taught me some things about how to make money online. And then boom, it just like off to the races. Yeah. And then after that whole time, like I'm seeing YouTube's now a thing. I'm seeing YouTube videos that are super inspirational, like Red Bull style, and I'm like, damn, I want to make videos. Like that's it, you know? But I was like, I'll get to this point of like income and then I'll start making videos. Yeah. And so that's like the biggest. Oh, it's such a trap, right? Yeah. So the biggest trap. So many people fall into that trap. Yeah. So I got brought to my knees. I got humbled, and I was just like, okay, I got to make videos. So I just made a video on YouTube, actually making a public declaration of like, hey, I'm going to become a professional videographer in 90 days. Oh, wow. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm committed to it. And then in 45 days, I landed my first $10,000 client. What? Yeah. And I didn't even know how to shoot because, you know, I hadn't used a camera in 5 years. Right? Okay. Wow. Yeah. 45 days. Okay. So what did your YouTube channel look like at the point of you putting out this public declaration? Did it have nothing? It didn't exist. Nothing. It was a brand new channel. Brand new channel. And I created a new handle. It was Kyle Got Camera. Okay. Which I'm actually going to be hanging up that username pretty soon, which is a whole thing that we can get into too. Sure. But basically, and Kyle Got Camera is the name of your YouTube channel right now. Yeah. Yep. And your Instagram. Yep. So it's been my personal brand for years now. So I made this name, Kyle Got Camera. I said, I'm going to become a videographer in 90 days. And there's a couple distinctions here. So I was still really sick. Even though I told myself I was going to do this, I'm deathly sick, right? So I just basically said, okay, I got to do videography different than the other videographers. Because the other videographers I met burnt out, dude. They're they're traveling all the time. They're undercharging. They're just like, it's like a brutal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Being, totally berated by their clients. And I just wasn't down for that. So I didn't have the option, so I had constraints, which I think is a powerful thing for business, is to put constraints on yourself. So for me, what I decided was that I'm going to do one client, one project, $10,000 once a month.
Wow.
And if I just do that, I'll have a 6-figure income. I'll replace my income. And I'll only have to do 1 gig a month.
Yeah.
Then the challenge then became, it's like, okay, if that's the reality that I'm trying to create, what needs to happen in order to make that a reality, right? But it's never about the how. It's always about the decision,
Sure.
So the how is not none of your business, right? So
that's the biggest question I've got.
Yeah.
How did you get that first client? But no, keep
well, the short version of it is that basically I heard about this guy named Jonathan Otto, and he was selling $100,000 videos. Yeah. And I looked at his, plus a percentage of the funnel. And I looked at his videos and I was like, I think I can do better. I think I can. They were good, super emotional, captivating, but the B-roll was not super great. And it just like, I just knew I could do better. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I gotta talk to this guy. Yeah. And so I went to this random event in San Francisco, actually. Okay. It was like a coaching event. And like, I'm not a coach, and like, there's no reason for me to be there. My friend just invited me, like, hey, you should come to this event. And I had no idea why I said yes. Maybe I just wanted to go see my family. Yeah, sure. Or like just like catch up with my buddy, and spend some time with him.
And where were you living at that time?
I was living in Orange County. Okay. Oh no, I was living at my grandma's house. I had moved out of Orange County because that's where the mold was. And I had gone back to my grandma's house. I'm in a really rough spot, Okay. And I had stopped taking on, clients and doing the headline stuff. I was like fully committed to this video thing. But I had no idea what I was doing. Sure. So I go to this event and I meet this woman I think her name was Michelle. And I was just in conversation telling the story about this guy, Jonathan Otto, and what I'm trying to do. And she's like, oh, I know Jonathan. He's a friend of mine. I'm like, what? Can you introduce me to him? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is it. So I get on the phone with Jonathan like a couple of weeks later, and I go, look, man, I'm not trying to step on your toes, not trying to take your clients, not trying to, like, I really appreciate what you're doing. And I'm trying to get my video business off the ground. And if I could just do 1/10 of what you're doing, like, I'd be pumped. Like, would you be open to like sharing? And, to his credit, he was. Wow. Because he was like, I'm getting out of the client business, actually. I'm just doing stuff for myself.
Interesting.
So I'll pass the torch and I'll give you this special sauce. And so he taught me how to package, how to position things. And, I had that belief from him because if he was selling $100,000 videos, if I sold $10,000 videos, I'm like, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. So I was like, had this belief in my head that's like, oh, 10,000 is not that much. Yeah. And I still don't think it's that much, but compared to the value that I ended up creating for my clients. But sure, what ended up happening is he gave me the spiel. I'm like, okay, I'm armed with the right information. And then again, one thing after the next, like I got invited to this mastermind, a small little intimate thing where everyone puts up on the whiteboard, here's what's going on with my business. Yeah. How can we help? How can we brainstorm? And I drew my funnel that didn't exist on the thing. And it was like, okay, here's the funnel. It's the emotional story selling funnel. I'm going to do these hero videos for entrepreneurs, and it's going to be really powerful, and it's going to blow up their sales funnels and blah, 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 blah. And it's going to be 10K, one video.
Okay. So that was your main focus as far as the type of videos you were making?
Yeah.
Hero videos.
Hero videos. Yeah.
Like how long would it be?
It's like 10 minutes, Okay. Like a 10-minute story video of like the entrepreneur, the hero's journey. And then using that strategically to sell more of whatever they're selling. Yeah. And
so a lot like my podcast, but 10 minutes and in a video form.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, and there's music, and it's cinematic, and it's like emotional, like really emotional. Like I learned from Jonathan this technique of how to interview that evokes all the stuff. Yeah. And it like really opens people up, and they start crying, and there's an art to that. And I did it, and it started working.
That's amazing.
So I drew this stuff up on the whiteboard, and then one guy in the mastermind was just like, all right, can I hire you like next month? I have an event coming up. I need one of these videos.
Yeah.
Boom. First client.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is somebody you met at the mastermind in SF.
Yeah.
Cause
no, we are actually in Orange County. So 2 different events. Okay. I met this woman who introduced me to Jonathan Otto in SF. And then I was at a different mastermind down in Orange County, like a month later, a month and a half later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because one thing that was popping up in my head as you were telling me this story about how you got up with Kyle Got Camera, how you got that going, was how much did you tap into your client list or your clients from your copywriting business?
I didn't.
You didn't? Really?
I didn't. Different clientele.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess then 45 days from when you made that public declaration.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How did you land that? Well, you just shared that story, but like, you know, and then you have to keep going, right? You got to find more and more and more. I guess, how did you find your leads generally going forward from that?
Yeah. So that first client, I ended up making lots of videos for him.
Okay.
But then what ended up happening, that client, I got him such good results. He made, I think he generated somewhere around $50 million in commissions for him and all of his affiliates using my videos.
Wow.
So it was one funnel with all my videos in it.
Yeah.
And that massacred.
Yeah.
And so I had now this social proof of like, yo, this works. Like, it's validation, product market fit. Like, and he was in the mastermind with Russell Brunson, the Inner Circle. And so when one thing's working for someone, they share it with the mastermind, and then I started getting clients that way. Yeah. And then I started joining lots of masterminds because I was working with these 6 and 7 and 8-figure entrepreneurs, and so those people congregate in these masterminds. So that was my main traction channel for client acquisition.
So you really had a very strong skill in networking.
Yes, I would say that is one of my most. I think that's my most valuable skill is that, but it's not something I talk about or market or like,
it's one of those things that, you know, you don't really advertise on the front cover, but it's like the most important, it's such an important skill.
Yeah. Like last year, to put it in perspective, I just moved to Austin 2 years ago. So my first year in Austin, I met 500 people, and I threw like 10 events, one of which had 200 people at it.
Wow.
And I can safely say that people know that if Kyle and the guys are throwing a party, like you're going to be there. Yeah. Like you don't want to miss it.
That's
so, but that comes from, you know, if I look back, it's when I was hosting parties, you know, when I was throwing parties back in high school.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like, it was so organic for me. It was so easy for me to integrate myself into different networks and communities and groups and get them all excited about doing something.
That's cool. So I want to go back to that first client where you had a ton of success with. Yeah. And it also made me think of the 80-20 rule, right? Yeah. You know, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. So it's like that. Clearly that guy was such a big, pivotal client for you,
he was a linchpin for sure.
Linchpin, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So when you say that you generated a lot of success or ROI or however you define it, how do you measure that based off of a video that you made? So
with that one in particular, like they only had one funnel. So they're driving all the traffic to this one asset. And the asset and inside of that asset, the sales mechanism was my videos. There wasn't anything else that was there. There's a little bit of copy, but it's basically my videos. So I had designed the sales journey for them through these videos and did the testimonials, the hero video, did all of it, you know? So that was the thing that was like, oh yeah, this is what's doing the heavy lifting. Like they have to do the marketing to get people on the inside. But like, that doesn't mean anything. You need to be able to convert those eyeballs into sales, into customers, right? So, and my videos were the things that were doing that. So, and then beyond that, there was just like, so much more, like so many good client results. As time went on, as I started working with more people, it was like I had one client made $200K in the first week or two of releasing his video.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then he wrote me and was like, yo, like this just happened, you know? So it's like, So I have a lot of like testimonials like that and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So so this was, how long did you do this specifically, making these videos for entrepreneurs?
4 years, 4.5 years.
Okay.
Like I probably made my last one like a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this was the Kyle Got Camera brand, right?
Yeah,
Which you still have, and we'll talk about what's next.
Yeah.
But let's focus on that transition out of working with those clients to you now doing your biohacking focused YouTube, right? And then the sleep aspect of that, which seems to be a really prevalent piece of what you focus on.
Absolutely. So when COVID happened, there was a lot of instability. There was a lot of uncertainty. And so I didn't know if clients were going to fly to me and if they even wanted to film like in person and stuff like that. So I realized that I needed to pivot and I needed to hedge again.
Right.
So, and plus I was looking for a way to change my business model. I did not like client services because it was really heavy on the fulfillment. So it's like I could shoot a video, even if I only did one video a month, I would shoot a video, which is like 2 or 3 days of intense work. Yeah. And then the editing would take a long time. And at the time, I was so attached to the artistry of it that I wouldn't let go of the editing. Yeah. Looking back now, it would be such an easy business now to run. But I was really stressed because I'd have these big months, then I'd have these low months. And it was just this roller coaster of just like, okay, let me go drum up some business, go to some masterminds, go to some events, collect a bunch of leads, close some sales, boom, big month. And then I got like 3 or 4 projects to fulfill. Right. And so it was never stable, you know, and it was really stressing me out. So, so COVID was the catalyst though, to really like accelerate, okay, I need to change. And
you were still sick?
Yeah. I didn't even know, you know, like it was right around the end of 2020. Or it was right around 2019, I finally learned that I had a mold infection. Wow. And I had already spent $150,000 trying to figure out why I was feeling the way that I was feeling.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And, and you know, I had pretty much like given up. Like I was just like,
I have to live with this.
Yeah. So I was doing the Wim Hof method and cold plunging, and that was helping to some degree. And that's kind of how I like got into the holistic stuff. That was kind of a gateway drug for me. And then I met this guy named Cliff, and I had just started the YouTube channel, and I was like wanting to do affiliate marketing because it was passive. You know, you make something once and then it goes to work for you. Opposed to video clients, it's like you make something for them and then it's gone forever. Yeah. And you only get the paycheck one time. So I wanted someone to promote that I could send traffic to, like a high ticket coaching offer. And Cliff was a really good coach that I'd met. And he said, well, if you're going to promote me, you should work with me. And I'm like, that makes sense. So let's start working together. And, you know, in the first month, he gave me this one test called the organic acids test. And it came back like really high in mold, off the charts. It's like, oh, you have a really bad mold infection, Kyle. I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Why I've been feeling this way and having these symptoms and these issues for so long. So then in that process, that's when I started getting really obsessed with health and sleep in particular, because I was in this guy, Sam Ovens' mastermind, who used to run this company called consulting.com. And he, you know, people are paying $36,000 to be in this room. And he's talking about how every entrepreneur needs to have an Oura ring. And that's the first thing they need to do is like master their sleep. Yeah. And so I took that to heart. I'm like, okay, this guy knows something. He's making $36 million a year in revenue. And he knows something I don't. Like, let me listen, be a good student. So I bought the Oura ring, got obsessed, started tracking, started measuring, started tinkering, started experimenting. And then eventually I cracked the code on me getting insanely good sleep, like better sleep than everyone else around me. Yeah. And I started posting about it online, and people are going crazy. They're like loving it. They're just like, how are you doing this? Da, da, da. And like, I'm just having the same conversation over and over and over again. So I'm just like, I should sell something. You know? So I did a beta launch post. I'm like, hey, if I put this together, would you buy it? And that was the impetus of the Sleep Advantage. And they were like, yes. I got hundreds of comments. So I just pre-sold it at like a $7 price point just to see if people would buy it. And they did. Then I increased the price. then, added more to it, got the feedback, and then,
Wow.
that just became an asset in the ecosystem that I started to build on YouTube. Because the thing with affiliate marketing is it's great in its nature for passivity, but it's not good because it's like there's so much out of your control. And so I felt like I needed a way to control my traffic and build a relationship with the people who are buying,
right,
so that they were customers of me, not just of these companies. So I was trying to figure out a way to sell affiliate products but have people buy from me first.
Yeah.
So in the course, there's affiliate products built into it. So the idea was I'll make YouTube videos that are evergreen, continue to bring traffic into the top of the funnel. And then as they buy the course, then I recommend products that I use and love and really work. And so they get this relationship of connecting their transformation with the buying process from me, a recommendation, which should build a lot of trust. So over time, is if I help people transform their sleep and they buy some products that help them do that, then when in the future, when I recommend something to them, they'll buy it every single time because it's like, okay, Kyle knows what he's talking about. Exactly. Right. So the idea was to become this trusted source of someone who's a filter in the health space. So it's like, I've done the due diligence that you won't do. Yeah. And when when I recommend a product, I use it or have tested it, or I've tested it with other people and I've seen it to work. Yeah. And my biggest pain really in life has been like, I spent all this money on trying to figure out why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, 150 grand. And a $500 test gave me the answer, and then a simple supplement protocol, some sauna sessions, and a lot of walking was able to clear out that mold. Wow. And so, if someone had just told me, Kyle, if you're experiencing these symptoms, you should maybe look into getting a test for mold or check your house for mold, right? Wow. That would have saved me five years of my life and 150 grand, right? So my hopes with what I do is that I help people just close that gap a little bit and save some of their money, buy things that actually help them get the result and, aren't a waste of time either.
Man, so that's actually really inspiring to me, that story of it coming from that personal experience of this health issue and then figuring it out, and then figuring out your ways to combat it and make yourself better. And then, of course, making a business out of it. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. But for me, I've had issues with my nose forever, right? Deviated septum. I got surgery on it earlier this year. And then I still have major issues with congestion. And, I've tried to play around with the diet and tried different things. And, there's things like wheat and gluten, which I seem to not respond to well, and all these different things. But there are certain activities that I know help me feel better, right? Yeah. Like working out, fitness, getting into the ocean, the salt water. I mean, there's, moving around.
So I bet that affects your sleep quite a bit.
100%.
Yeah. So there's probably a couple things going on there. Mold is definitely something to consider. Okay. Sometimes those symptoms can show up as a result of being exposed to mold, like allergies and sinus infections, like chronic infections. Yeah. So if you've had that for a long time, that's definitely something to think about. I mean, we have the air filter right here for a reason. Yeah. This is a brand new house for a reason. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of things like in this house that are the way that they are because of what I went through. But there's a breathing technique that I'm actually making a video about right now. I just shot it, called the Buteyko method. And it teaches you how to unblock your nose. And it also retrains you on how to breathe through your nose as well. Which if someone has a deviated septum or they're having sleep issues that are related to their breathing, this is a big deal. Yeah. Also, like not breathing through your nose properly can affect your blood sugar, it can affect your stress, it can affect your focus, it can affect, I mean, everything. On and on and on and on. It's massive, right? So, I love that
you're saying this.
Yeah. So I learned about this breathing technique after I got COVID. So I got really sick with COVID. Right after I cleared the mold infection, I'm like, I'm better. I'm a new person. Yeah. And boom, I get COVID. I get totally knocked on my ass, had a long haul. And I used to do Wim Hof breathing. And every time I was doing Wim Hof breathing, it actually make my symptoms worse. And I think it was because it was too stressful, as like the style of breathing is mouth-mouth, which trains you on how to breathe through your mouth, which can send you into a sympathetic overdrive. So you're chronically like stressed. But then also Like I think it really activates your immune system too. And I think my immune system was just, it had too much going on. So I don't know what was going on there, but my friend Justin recommended, hey, check out this guy named Patrick McEwen.
Okay.
He's got this thing called the oxygen advantage. He practices this thing called the Buteyko method. He teaches about it all over the world. It's the opposite of Wim Hof.
Yeah.
So the idea behind it is that you inhale gently through your nose and out through your nose, and you slowly start to chop off 20% of the inhale. And what this does is it's going to limit your breathing. It's going to reduce your breathing. And it's really uncomfortable. And it turns into something called air hunger, where you're like, fuck, I need more oxygen.
Yeah.
So what this does is it increases carbon dioxide in your blood, which is going to shuttle oxygen into your cells and into your brain. So this is really good for brain fog. That's what the video that I'm making is about. And it's really good for calming the nervous system, which can also send more blood to your brain as well. And it increases nitric oxide, which is antibacterial, antiviral, all these different things that we want, right? And it really helped me heal from COVID when nothing else was really working. Just a simple breathing technique. I do it twice a day for 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Now I do it like once a day, but you know, more is better in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really changed my life. And so I think where I'm at now and where things are kind of evolving is I'm just spending my time exploring different products, people, and ideas in health to figure out what actually works. Yeah. And then share that. And bring that to the world, because it's just like you have this nose thing. Right. You don't know if it's allergies. You don't know if it's mold. You don't know if it's that, you know, you broke your nose when you were a little kid and now your structure's all messed up. Or, you know, it could be a whole host, or, you know, maybe you're practicing the wrong breathwork technique, like I was, Wim Hof, you know. And so my hopes is just to help people navigate that a little bit better. Because there's a lot of confusion and it's hard to figure out. And when you're having health challenges or any type of health issue, it's like all you want to do is just resolve it. Yeah. You'll pay whatever it takes to make that happen.
So true. Man. Well, gosh, there you go, guys. You got a little taste of Kyle's content, and we could totally turn this into a human episode right now. Like, you just got me all into that now. And I mean, it's super relevant to me personally. So we'll talk more later. Sure. Thanks for sharing that. But I want to go back to your business for the audience here. So I want to understand what your strategy was when you started this YouTube channel. How long were you making content? Did it overlap with your previous business when you were working with clients using Kyle.camera, making this content until you decided to put out this sleep course? Yeah. So I was straddling those two businesses for like 2.5 years. So I had my video client business, and then I just started YouTube on the side, and I knew it was going to be a long-term game. Like, YouTube's kind of a slow burn. And so I just played the long game. You know, I was just like, all right, well, if I just stay consistent, like I think Ali Abdaal said it, and I don't know if this is true to this day, it may not be, but when he said it, it was true for me, and it was true back then. If you just put out a video every single week for like a couple years, like all your needs are going to be taken care of from a financial perspective and from like a distribution and influence perspective. And it was such a simple idea, and I really believed it. And so I kind of just said, okay, I'm going to run this experiment, do this for 12 months, and then reevaluate. And if I make no money, that's okay. I'm setting my expectations like that. And and if I make money, then that's just icing on top of the cake. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that's cool. So the consistency, that was a key piece to it. But what about the types of videos you're putting out? Can you be more specific about how you approach that? Because I noticed you have some like kind of medium long form, and then, you know, like how do you go about making shorts versus longer form? Yeah. So the types of content that I make, it's evolved a lot. So before I was just like consistency. Let me rank for a keyword. Let me sell a product, you know, and, you know, experiment with a product that I like or I'm interested in, and then give a review. So I was doing mostly review-based content, and it worked, and, you know, that made money, and that's great. But I think it stunted the channel's growth because review-based content, you know, people come, they get the review, and then they leave.
So you're not really building a community. You're not fostering like followers.
Yeah.
So
and the selling aspect might scare some people
totally.
away.
And if you're taking people off the platform too, then you know, that stunts your growth as well. So, but you know, that worked it got me to like, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers or whatever. And then I think I just realized that I needed to start doing something different. And mostly because I live with Leon, and Leon's a big YouTuber, and he makes viral content, and I mean, he's a beast. And he just challenged me. He's like, dude, you got to think way bigger. Like these niche little product reviews, they're cool and they make a little bit of money, but it's like you're leaving so much money on the table by not thinking bigger. And so he really just challenged me to think bigger. And what that really comes down to in terms of, to answer your question, is like, when I'm thinking about content, I'm thinking about the idea. The idea is the most important thing. And then I'm thinking about title and thumbnail. And then and then like the packaging of that is the most important thing. So before I decided, hey, I'm going to make this video, like I was just on a call, like that's what I was talking to someone outside just before we started, was I saw this video hit my like homepage and has a lot of views, has a really unique topic in the health space. And there's an expert that I know in this subject, and I'm not going to share it because you'll see when the video comes out. But I'm like, this video has a lot of potential, and I can make it different than this one and better. And this is an idea that works, you know, and it's something that my people want to see. So it's not like I'm just chasing the algorithm. Like this is a video that's getting pushed, and my people want to see it, and I'm interested in it. So I called this guy. I'm like, yo, we need to collab on this video, and we need to do it soon. This video is taking off, blah, blah, blah. So I just think about it all about ideas now. Like, what's the idea that is going to bring in the right type of audience, and it's going to reach the most amount of people, and is going to be the most interesting for me to make, and the most valuable for the audience to watch. And if I can find a way to integrate a product or do a sponsorship or something like that, then I will. But my focus is less right now on selling and more on growing the audience and building my email list. So I don't do much short form content, even though it's really easy for me to produce. I feel like I'm going to start doing more now because of this AI clipping software that I found. Called Opus Clip. If anyone wants to check it out, it's pretty dope. And I just feel like the behavior, the consumption behavior behind long form content on YouTube is way different than any short form platform, and it's way more valuable. Because you're spending so much more time with the audience, just like podcasts, right? And if you think about the psychology of consumption on YouTube, it's much different than a feed-based platform. Typing something in, searching something, looking at the homepage is very different. So to me, that's a much more valuable audience, and it's evergreen. So that's why I put my attention on YouTube.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So those would you call those affiliate marketing partnerships when you're doing a review and you say, hey, here's my code? Okay. And what were some of just so the audience has an idea what's on your page? I've seen the red beds, the red light therapy products. You know, I saw you had my other buddy Kieran's cold plunge energize, right? Who was also on the show. The Aura Ring. What are some of the other, just so we have an idea of the variety of tools?
It could be trackers like the Aura Ring, Whoop, Apple Watch, that kind of stuff. Red light therapy, cold plunges, saunas, like big recovery devices, hyperbaric chambers eventually. I made a video about that. It's really interesting. Then supplements. So I talk a lot about magnesium. I love magnesium. And any products I'm really interested in. I'm doing a video on athletic greens right now. Oh, nice. It's actually the biggest video I've ever made. I would definitely go check it out. It's called, it'll be out tomorrow probably. Okay. So it's called, Is Athletic Greens Actually Healthy? So that one's kind of like, it's less a review and more like an expose. Okay. So I'm not promoting athletic greens. Okay. But I think it's important as an affiliate to not always show the good in everything, you know, because it's like, I genuinely wanted to promote athletic greens, but everyone in the health space that I know and trust said like, hey, this is not great, you know?
Interesting.
And so I just was like, all right, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is an interesting topic.
Contrarian.
Yeah, contrarian. Like, this could be a good video, you know? And I did a little bit of research. I'm like, this is, like, I saw some other Athletic Greens videos blow up. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So let's investigate, you know? So this is more like an investigative journalist type approach to that, but it is a review, you know? So it's all like, the idea is to tell a story now that's a bigger idea, and then you wrap a product in that, you know? So for an example of how I'm doing this beyond the Athletic Greens thing is like, I'm doing a video about why you wake up in the middle of the night. Okay. And it's all about blood sugar. Okay. And so embedded in that story is levels CGM. Which is a continuous glucose monitor, which is the one that I promote. Right. And so it's just taking these bigger, higher level concepts, more top of funnel, like less problem aware. Yeah. Or solution aware, I should say, less solution aware. So higher up in the buying cycle, and educating them and hopefully moving them in the direction of making the right decision. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. It builds that trust with your audience for sure. Yeah. Because only so many people know CGMs. Yeah. But there's so many more people that wake up in the middle of the night. Right. Does that make sense? Yeah. 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 Wow. So just so I understand your operation with making these videos, are you doing everything? Can you give me an idea of what the, you know, what the production looks like and who else is involved in that? Yeah, so I have 2 editors right now and a thumbnail designer, and the production basically looks like me figuring out what the idea is, so doing some research. Yeah. And once I land on an idea and I validate it, I talk to a couple people before I make it, and then I do the thumbnail first. So I'll shoot the thumbnail, then I'll send it to my designer. We'll workshop it, and we'll mess with it, try to make it as good as possible. Then I show it to some people, see what they think, look at their reaction, less about what they say and more about what am I seeing, you know? And then after that, I'll script the video. Yeah. Then I'll shoot the video. Then I'll send the raw footage to the editor, and then the editor and me go back and forth. I'll record a loom, kind of breaking down the script and like what I'm thinking, different ideas, B-roll here, this type of animation, this type of music, just kind of give me some high level sort of direction. And then he takes care of it, works on it, sends me a draft. I give him some feedback. He sends it back, or I send it back. He works on it again. He sends a new draft. I give him some feedback. Wow. And then that process continues until we have a really good product. Yeah. And then I publish it. Wow. Dude, yeah, that really exposes a lot of the work that goes into each of these videos. Totally. Right? Because people just see a whole ton of videos on YouTube, and, you know, sometimes people think, oh, they just did this, but no, it's a ton of work. Oh, yeah, there's some videos I've worked months on. Yeah, that's wild. There's the hyperbaric video I worked for 6 months. Really? Yeah. Because you were doing like, how did this impact me in these areas over this period of time? Yeah, it was 60 days of hyperbaric training. Gotcha. Yeah. So, so obviously just that alone is 60 days of filming. Right. Yeah. That's cool, man. Wow. Well, man, what a cool story to bring you to where you are today. I mean, you know, I like to ask about the challenges you have shared. A key challenge that you've experienced in your journey around the health stuff, and how that propelled you to get into this space and to really become obsessed with sleep, help other people with that, and all these the biohacking stuff. But is there anything general or something else specific from a business standpoint that you can touch on as far as the biggest challenge that you've gone through? Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest challenge from a business perspective is, I was just speaking to like what's present for me right now, which is like, I think identity is like a really like hard thing to like wrap yourself around. And what I mean by that is like, as an entrepreneur, you have to evolve. Yeah. Like always. And like what you used to do last year isn't going to be what you can do this year. And like in a job, sometimes you can get away with that. And especially if you're doing personal brand stuff, like you're doing content, you're playing that game, a social media game. Yeah. It's like you're putting who you think you are into the world, and there's so many different stages of evolution. And so I feel like it's kind of like this weird, like esoteric, like who am I?
Yeah.
Like what's my role? And like, how do I define myself? Because the version of Kyle that used to just make videos for clients could not do what I'm doing now. And so like you have to grow as like a leader, as a manager, as like as someone who's like has a voice, you know, like I mean, you know, having a podcast, it's like, I know this is like in its infancy for you, right? So in the earlier days, right? But like for me, like the channel is growing now and I'm putting a lot of energy into it. And it's like 150,000 people are watching the channel every month.
Wow.
And I suspect by the end of, you know, the year, or let's just say 12 months from now, that'll be 1 million or 2 million or 3 million people a month, just based on compounding interest and me getting better at the skills and me having more resources. And right. So it's like, if I'm thinking about 10 million people a year, like what I say matters, you know? So it's just, especially with health, you know, so it's just like a lot of responsibility, and I feel it, you know, and I want to point people in the right direction, and I want to be the best that I can. I want to be in integrity, and I want to like just do the right thing to the best of my ability. And I think that is not something that most people have ever had to deal with before this period of time. You know, of literally, I could push a button, like tomorrow I could launch that video and 1 million people could see it. That's insane.
It is crazy.
So there's a lot of pressure, you know, that I feel sometimes, responsibility. And then just like, am I showing up the way that I want to? And am I, you know, keeping the labels sort of at bay? But you're always going to be victim to that to some degree, I think. But yeah, that's what I'm struggling with right now.
And that's obviously very related to you changing the brand name from Kyle Got Camera to whatever's next.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Because I feel like it's time to evolve and put that on the shelf. And I think that brand name is actually holding me back quite a bit. Yeah.
Wow. I love that insight.
Yeah.
Man, well, thanks for sharing that. That's genuine and vulnerable, and something that I think everyone can relate to. But I like to ask this question at the end of every show, which is, what is an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the mainstream belief, unique to you? That could be, you know, general, could be a specific type of habit or action, but something you could share with the audience just from your experience.
I think it's a mindset, and the mindset is that life and business can be easy and fun. If you let it be. And it's really challenging.
Wow. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Like it's really challenging. Because I think the ethos, especially in entrepreneurship, is that it has to be hard. And it has to be a hustle. It has to be a grind. And it doesn't feel, to a lot of us, I'll speak generally, a lot of us, it doesn't feel safe to have it be working and have it be easy and steady and relaxed, because it's just how we've been conditioned. So there's a lot of unwiring and sort of the entrepreneurial dogma that has to happen in order for you to really truly believe that and embody it and practice it and experience it. And there's been a season last year where I've really felt that. Where I'm looking around at all my friends, they're fucking working so hard, dude, and it's stressful, and it's this and it's that, and I'm like gallivanting, you know, dude. I'm just like rolling around, long mornings, you know, going to the gym for 3 hours, and you know, it's like why you? They're making it harder, you know, than it needs to be. But Tim Ferriss has a really great question. He says, "What would this look like if it were easy?" And I think that's just a great question to ask, you know. It's like, if it was easy, like, how would this look? You know, what would it be?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised I haven't heard that, or maybe I have. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man. I like that. It reminds us that we do have a lot more control over how we're going about our day to day and approaching our life. And I like that. It's definitely against the mainstream belief. So good answer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, Kyle, what a cool journey, and what awesome wisdom and content you have to share based off your personal experience. So really thankful to you for sharing this on the Nichols and Dimes show. Is there anyone in your network who you think would also be a good person that could be on this show? Somebody who's entrepreneurial, building something?
Danny Miranda.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a podcaster.
Nice.
Yeah. So I would definitely chat with him.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's here in Austin too.
Oh, I love it.
So maybe you can make a play.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I'll follow up with you on getting in touch.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle. Well, yeah, again, thank you for all this. This is an awesome episode. So excited to see what people think.
Okay, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you for joining our conversation today on the Nichols and Dimes show. Please check out and follow my podcast Instagram at nicholsanddimezshow. I'd love to have you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. You can also find it on my website. I welcome and encourage any feedback you can share in the reviews so I can continue to improve and develop the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.